So I disappeared for a while. It's been about 2 months since I made my last video here on YouTube, and it's the first time I've ever done that in 8 years of me making content. So in this video, I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened, where I've been, what I've been doing, and I'm also gonna tell you exactly what's currently going on with this channel, and also what you can expect moving forward in the future. Let's get into it. So what exactly am I doing in the kitchen? I feel like the kitchen for the past month has been like my office. I've spent so much time here. And the reason is because, as you guys know, I got married in March. And one thing I knew was I wanted to have children. I wanted to multiply. I wanted to raise a generation for the Lord. So just last month in January, my wife Ashley gave birth to our first child. So yes, you've met TommyBryson, the single guy that's trying to make YouTube work out. You met TommyBryson, the husband, which is amazing, but you've also are now meeting TommyBryson, the father, and that is just incredible, me actually saying that. But the main reason I'm actually right here in this kitchen is because once my wife actually gave birth, I had to help her out with a lot of the things, you know, from the cleaning to the cooking to whatever the things that she actually needed help with. And let me tell you something, guys, okay? It is hard. It is tough. One thing is to cook, but then once you cook, you also have to wash the dishes, and it's just a lot of stuff, okay? So I'm not going to say I didn't have time to make content and to make a video. The time was there. I just didn't do it, okay? And I'm just going to be honest about it, all right? But that's the big reason, okay? We had a baby. I am a father. I'm a dad. You're probably wondering, what's it like to be a dad? First off, I don't have any New Balances yet or high white socks or shorts, but this you don't want. You probably want reusable diapers, and you also want reusable wipes. More on that maybe in a later video. But for the most part, I think most seasoned parents will tell you just about the same thing, and it's that it's the most rewarding job you could possibly do. And if you're a Christian, you believe that you were designed to have children, to multiply, and to raise them up for the Lord. The big problem that everyone basically has with kids is that, you know, kids, they cry a lot. All the diapers, all the attention they require. And I realized the worst thing you could possibly do is to try to hold on to what your old life used to be. I saw a video here on YouTube, and this guy was basically saying, hey, I wanted to hold on to my career. My wife wanted to hold on to her career also. And the truth is, your identity is not in your career. And to try to juggle both things as if though they have the same level of importance, it's ridiculous. You know, your children are 10 times more important than your personal goals and also your career goals. So for my family and I, we aren't trying to hold on to our careers and hold on to our old life. And I do expect my baby to cry a lot and to need my attention a lot, but it's the best investment of my time I could possibly make. Prior to this, my wife, before she married me, used to work about 12 hours between the time at work and the time it took to actually get to work and get back home. And I would work a little bit over 6 hours every single day. When you add up all that time, it's a lot of time. It's a big investment in money, career, personal achievement. But now we get to invest a lot of our time on raising this child. And the truth is, she's not going to be a child forever. Eventually, she's going to potentially get married, have her own children, raise her own family, and that's how you build community. And if you're a Christian, we were designed, right, to have children, to multiply, and to raise children for the Lord. So it is literally the best job I could possibly ask for. And I want more children. I want a big family, if I'm being honest with you. And it's the best way I could possibly invest my time. So having children, it's a great thing. Have them, expect it to be difficult in some ways, but you get better at it for the most part. That's not all that happened. We moved to the US for about 2 months. And it's because although I love my country, Dominican Republic, and I moved here, which not many people actually do, they tend to stay in the US. Here, if my wife would have stayed here being pregnant, she had an 80 to 90% chance of actually giving birth. But via a C-section. It's that crazy here. Doctors, for the most part here, just love performing C-sections. And I get it. C-sections are done in emergency basis, but now it's not really like that. Everything is just a reason to have a woman go through a C-section. And no, it's not normal. It's not a small surgery. It is going through layers of skin, and the recovery is insane. It is not the same thing. So we had to go to the US. We moved there for 2 months, and it was everything but easy, if I'm being honest, okay? First, we got to New York to find out options. Guess what? Not that many great options there. And it's kind of crazy. You got to do all this stuff just to find a place where your wife can actually give birth naturally for the most part. So we ended up going to Orlando, where we found a birth center. And in that birth center, things were not that great either, because my wife was approaching like the 40-week mark and she actually passed it, and they were talking about potentially transferring her over to a hospital to have her get induced into labor. We rejected that idea and we started praying, and later my wife actually went into labor. Her labor was like over 24 hours. We had the majority of that time we spent at home going through all the pains, and we only went over to the birth center when we were close to the end. Everything went fine. It was tiring. It was hard. Of course it was. That's what labor is like. But she was able to actually give birth naturally. Thank the Lord. Now, it's complicated because a lot of people might say, well, Tommy, it's not really up to her if she's going to give birth naturally or have a C-sections. Doctors just make the decisions based on the patient. The truth is, it's not what happens. I really recommend you do your research, because when a woman is pregnant and she's going to give birth and she goes to the hospital with her eyes closed, and the guy usually doesn't know much either, guess what? They give the woman drugs to help with the contractions, right? To increase them. The pain gets too crazy. So now all of a sudden they need to give her epidural to help with the pain. And once the epidural plus the contractions, they basically start to do too much pressure to the baby, which causes stress. And then before you know it, there's an emergency C-section that happened because of all of those interventions. Women have been given birth since the beginning of life because that's how we actually come here. It's a natural process. It doesn't need all that intervention, okay? C-sections should only be done under strict emergencies, and we should not be doing things to lead women into those emergency scenarios. So if you're capable of having children, I highly recommend you look into it, whether you want children or whether you don't want children, because you should have the capability of knowing all this information before you go into the hospital. And I recommend, if you don't have the possibility of going to a birth center and getting like a midwife, just stay home for as long as possible, or potentially just give birth at home, okay? That sounds extreme, but that's also an option. As far as YouTube goes, I don't think I'm going to be making videos for much longer. I started doing YouTube about 8 years ago, and around that time, you also had people like Nate O'Brien. In those 8 years, I think Nate O'Brien made about like 200 videos, and he just recently posted one last video saying basically he said all he needed to say on the topic when it comes to money. And a lot of the times I think about that too. I think it's time to stop. I think I said enough on the topic of money. And let's be honest, I've made over 1,600 videos on the topic of money. So I don't know exactly how much longer I will be here for talking about money and all this stuff, but I can guarantee, God willing, that I will be here in the year 2025, still making content and still making videos. But I do want to take on a different approach to keep teaching and to keep helping, because that's always been the goal, to be the spark for someone to find something out about money and then go ahead and change the way they manage money and put them on track to actually get to financial freedom. So I don't know how long, but only time will tell. As far as for the future, I'm getting close to age 30. I'm a Christian, I'm a husband, and now I'm a father. And I'm starting to notice that we need to set down roots, settle somewhere, and just start to grow and build a community where we actually are. So I really like the idea of having a homestead and growing our own food and being food independent in a way. But I don't know exactly when that's going to happen or how it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the journey, and only God really knows about that. But that's what the future is kind of holding for me and my family at this very moment. I know I want to have more kids, which is a blessing, but we'll see what happens. So in the end, I'll see you guys next time. Videos on Wednesdays, and we should be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thanks again for the patience. See you guys next time.